Oh, hello, all you out there in the baking world. My name is Ian Chin, and like you, I've been spending an awful lot of time at home. So I thought I'd share with you a recipe that I often make for myself. And I think it's a very cool recipe. It's a recipe for flatbreads, yeasted flatbreads, which are the best flatbreads in my opinion. But don't ask me, I always have a bit of a yeast problem personally. So, the ingredients you'll need for this recipe are 500 grams of flour, 125 milliliters of milk, 125 milliliters of water, or you could just use all milk or all water. It's up to you. And over here I have 3 tablespoons, that's around 45 grams of fat. You could use oil. Over here I have margarine because it's what I have in my cupboard. And here I have 1 teaspoon of sugar, 5 grams of sugar, and 2 teaspoons of salt. That's 10 grams of salt. And to start this recipe, I'm going to take my liquids, and that's 250 milliliters of liquid altogether. It might take a little bit more, but it just really depends on your flour, how hydrated it gets. So I'm going to mix my yeast and my liquid. I'm going to froth it up, make sure it's all very well incorporated. Very good. I think that's good enough. And here I have my flour. I'm just going to put all the rest of the ingredients in there. No problems, no problems. All of it will get off. And I'll show you how to mix it. And here I have my yeast and milk and water mixture. I'm just going to put all of that in. Again, you might need a little bit more water or so, just depending. And then I just like to get my hands in there. This is a recipe I really make often for myself. I don't usually share it because I think it's too simple, really, for anyone to care about such a thing. But this is really my day-to-day kind of bread. If I don't have a bread from work or a nice sourdough from work handy, I often have this kind of bread. It's something fast, it's something you can make ahead, it's something you can really freeze. I don't know, I think the whole family likes this kind of thing. Again, it makes a really brilliant pizza base. See, I think this could use just a bit more liquid. This is a bit stronger than my usual flour. But that's baking. It's a exact science, but it's also a bit inexact. So I just put a splash more water. Yeah, that's much better. This is supposed to be a slightly stiffer dough. And you'll want to knead this for about 5 or 10 minutes or so until it's completely, or at least most of the way, elastic. Whew! Well, I think that's enough for this particular dough. You see, it's most of the way smooth. It springs back pretty well. You could use a machine too, but I just don't have one. And from here, I'm going to portion them out. You don't have to use a scale, but I like to use a scale so I can be more accurate. I'm going to use 50 grams per bread. And now that we have it all divided up, I'm going to shape them into a rough ball shapes. And to do that, you could do it this way, where you just kind of put everything into the middle. And then you pinch the end closed. So you have like a nice rough ball shape with a smooth top. Or you can do it the mama style home way, which I often do. You put one in your hand. And it's the same thing. You're pushing everything under and you're using these over here to make it nice and smooth on top. Like so. I like to flour a baking sheet and then just put them on. If they're a little close together, it's not the end of the world. We are going to take them off later anyway. This really makes an awful lot of balls. And from here, we're going to cover them with a tea towel and let them rest for about 45 minutes to an hour until they're just puffed. Okay, and here are the risen doughs. This took only about 40 minutes. And these don't have to be risen until doubled because we're gonna flatten them and bake them anyway. I'm gonna put some flour on, and then we're gonna flatten each one. I'm using a rolling pin. I don't see why you couldn't use a wine bottle or something like that. And this really does roll out pretty well. Before I start baking them, I wanna flatten a couple. I just deflate it, and then make sure it's covered with enough flour. And then, then rotate it until it's the right shape. And you make these as thin or thick as you want. So here I have a pan on medium to medium-high heat. No oil, no grease. And now I think it's hot enough, so I'm going to put my bread on. You really want this to a medium to medium-high. It'll be ready when it starts to bubble up. And then a couple tips. When you put it down, it's about 20 to 30 seconds per side. And when it starts bubbling, like this, flip it over. You want a little bit of char, and you want to keep pressing on it so that the whole thing puffs up a bit. But if it doesn't puff up all the way, it's not the end of the world. You want this to be just cooked. I think that's, see, this only puffed up half the way, but that's okay. I think that's about done. And we take it here, we put it on our stack of flatbreads. We put a little melted butter, or I've used oil here, just to keep it soft. And here are our flatbreads. You can see that they're very nice and pliable and soft. They're perfect for, say, if you're making like a kebab dinner, or if you wanted to eat them with curry, kind of like a naan bread. These are really great, and they freeze really well. They're really great to use as pizza bases. And I'm gonna have some with some eggs that I cooked, some kind of sloppy eggs that I cooked with some of this Mexican style hot sauce I had in my refrigerator. I make it myself. If you guys want the recipe, you know, please go ahead. I'll try it. I'll try my flatbread with a bit of egg and all that lovely hot sauce. I put some coriander on top too, or cilantro, or in Bahasa Indonesia, daun ketumbar. And let's see. That's really quite good. I really love how soft it is. And these do tend to harden up a bit, but you can always re-steam them, or you can put them in the microwave for like a second, and they'll become nice and soft again. But even when they do come hard, you can still use them like as a pizza base or something. Wow. So that's the breads that I make at home. These are the flatbreads I make at home for myself quite often. And in these COVID times, when we have so much time on our hands, now is a good time to start bread baking. And I'd say this is one of the easiest yeasted breads you're ever gonna make. And it's really, it's really good. So, as always, I hope you're staying safe and healthy, and happy baking. Hey Nora, what you doing, Nora? It's Nora.